As you know, millions of people will be watching what happens here in Philadelphia tonight as the candidates square off. It could be pivotal, and it's a chance for the candidates to instill confidence in voters and possibly win over those who are still undecided. Joining us now live are political analyst, Democrat Eleanor Dezzi and Republican Joe Watkins. Eleanor and Joe, good morning to you both. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Well, this is the only debate that is scheduled so far on the calendar ahead of November, so this could be crucial. Tell us what you think the candidates need to accomplish tonight for this debate to be considered a win.
Well, I'll start. I think that it's going to be an amazing debate in that I think Kamala Harris is a skilled debater in that she's a prosecutor. So she's been in the courtroom for many years as the DA of San Francisco and the Attorney General of California. And I think how she's going to address the audience tonight is she's going to be addressing the American people like they are her jury. And she's going to put forth her agenda and her vision. And she's going to talk about the future. And I think that that's how she will be addressing it, because the jury votes on how you make your case. And I think that's how she's going to be presenting tonight.
I think Joe, what's your take on that?
Well, I think Eleanor is right on point. She's smart and she understands. Kamala Harris is certainly a seasoned debater, very skillful as a debater, no doubt about it. But what will matter in this debate will be the capacity of the candidates to win over people who haven't made up their minds yet. Pennsylvania will likely be the state that decides in the Electoral College who wins the election. You know, if whoever wins Pennsylvania is likely going to win the election. So the Electoral College matters, and Pennsylvania really matters. And so the fight tonight is not just for the base, because both candidates have a base of support. The fight will be for people who haven't made up their minds yet, people who are independents, people who may be in the other party who aren't sure if they're going to vote for the candidate in this party or not. So both candidates will have to have their A game on. Donald Trump, I'm sure, will be himself tonight, but he agreed to the muted mics because he realizes that he's got to win over people who aren't necessarily yet Trump supporters, and so he's got to be very focused on doing that and not lose people who might be inclined to vote for him.
Yeah, he has to stay
on
Joe,
message. To that point. Yeah, let me just get in here, Eleanor, because to Joe's point, the mics will be muted. There will be no audience. No pre-written notes are allowed. Do you think that's going to help or hurt the candidates, Eleanor?
Well, I think it's going to help Kamala because, as I said, she's going to be there to talk vision, make her case, and also talk about how the Biden-Harris administration brought us out of the pandemic and how they're trying to get us, back on track. But the problem with Donald Trump is we don't know which Donald Trump is showing up. Is he going to talk vision, mission? Is he going to talk about the past? Or is he going to go off script, and is he going to do personal attacks? And I think that's the problem. We do not know exactly what is going to happen tonight with him.
I think
all right. Well, right now, what we do know is that the polls have them in a dead heat. Joe, what do you think the key issues they'll be addressing are, and do you anticipate Donald Trump staying to script?
I think he'll stay on script. I think for the most part he realizes that the economy is a big issue, and people are worried about the capacity to buy groceries and to buy gas. The economy really matters in this matter, and he'll make efforts to tie Vice President Harris to President Biden and to the challenges that we've had in our economy. And also he'll talk about the border, immigration, because that's a big issue. It's one that people care about all around the country. The former President Trump has a lead in Arizona, about a 5-point lead. But it's an important issue in Pennsylvania as well and around the country. So I think he'll hammer away at those two issues, the economy and certainly immigration.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that they chose Philadelphia as the venue for this debate, as so much is riding on Pennsylvania in this election. Political analysts Eleanor Dezzi and Joe Watkins, thank you so much for your insight this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.